An analysis by USA Today shows that leading universities are graduating minority students with technology degrees at twice the rate that companies hire them. But tech companies continue to claim that there's a shortage of qualified minority applicants. Professor Darrick Hamilton rejects what the tech companies are saying. He teaches economics and urban policy at the New School in New York, and he joins us here. It's good to see you, Darrick. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on your show.
Well, you know, it seems like we have this conversation about a number of industries in our business landscape. So let's just start with a general statement of what is going on here. Is there really a shortage of available and qualified talent or not?
Well, the short answer is no, there's not a shortage of available talent, especially given the disparities that exist with the number. Now, there could indeed be more Black and Latinos graduating with tech degrees. That wouldn't hurt, but it's certainly not an explanation for their gross underrepresentation at the leading corporations.
So what do you attribute this to? Is this institutional bias? Is this ignorance? Very often, even in the television and the broadcast news business, when we've had these discussions about diversity, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, there's been this claim we can't find the qualified people. And in many cases, the organizations weren't either looking that hard or weren't recruiting.
Yeah, I think your question kind of sums it up very well. It's structural. It's not unique to the tech industry. We're seeing it in the tech industry, and we're paying a lot of attention to it, given the prestige and the benefits associated with those jobs. But it's not something that's new. We have typically seen individuals from subaltern groups like Black and Latinos underrepresented in prestigious places, despite education. Meaning, when we control for education, we still see these gross underrepresentations. So your question was why? Well, there could be a couple of reasons. One could just be cultural. People like to associate with people that are more similar to them, so there might be a certain bias in hiring. There's certainly many individuals that would be qualified, and then of that threshold of people that's qualified, there might be a certain bias towards selecting people that are more similar to you. That's a benign interpretation. Now, one that's less benign is that, well, these structures reinforce privilege, so that if you belong to a group and your group benefits from being privileged, then you would invest in that group. So there's economic return to investing in one's identity. And that investment would manifest in a system of exclusionary practices that privileges one group as opposed to another.
Darrick, there have been a couple of tech companies just this year that have come out and, if you will, told on themselves about the lack of diversity in their workforce. Are we to take that to mean that there is an increase or at least a trend for the sensitivity for diversity, if not programs to address the issue?
I certainly hope so. I mean, maybe this is a paradigm shift. I'm not quite convinced yet, but I certainly hope and am optimistic that we will take these companies at their word, and that they will indeed make overtures to change the representation and literally make structural change. I mean, the tech industry in itself is innovative, and they put forth an idea that they are on the forefront of structural change. So I hope they continue with that in terms of making a more inclusive workforce that includes people who had traditionally been excluded.
What would induce these companies, though, to feel the need to work on a diverse or an inclusive, to use your word, workforce? I mean, these are businesses. They're driven by bottom line. They're driven by innovation and getting to the marketplace with the newest, coolest thing the fastest. So, you know, what can be done to encourage them to even care?
Well, I mean, we started out with two possible mechanisms. One could be I'll try to be brief. I won't give you the long academic jargon.
Okay, good, because you got about 30 seconds.
Okay, so if the issue is marketplace, so if the issue is trying to create structures that privilege one group as another, then we need to have sanctions for outright discrimination, a general enforcement of anti-discrimination rules, and affirmative action hiring. So governments can incentivize through government contracts that if they want government contracts, they have to have representative workforces. If the issue is psychological, then we'd have a whole nother set of policy prescriptions. Indeed. But if it's marketplace, simply anti-discrimination and affirmative action, they work.
All right, we'll leave the conversation right there, but it is a worthy conversation indeed. Darrick Hamilton, thank you so much.
Thank you.